So my company recently just placed someone with an annual base of $1.62 million. And so I posted it on Twitter. And since numbers like these are pretty outrageous and unfamiliar in that territory of them, it created really a good amount of outrage, right? And so only a few amount of people actually understand how it can be possible and a good idea to actually pay someone that much money. And so I decided to create this video to actually break down why it's an amazing investment and why your goal shouldn't just be paying someone that much money, but maybe $5 or $10 million every single year. And so I have bullet points on here. I'm just going to kind of look at my screen and kind of reference some of these things if you're wondering why I'm looking at the screen. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the ROI in that, right? We paid that person, or the company paid that person $1.62 million, but I'm very bullish on the fact that that will have a 5 to 10x ROI. And the reason why is because that person that we placed was a C-suite person who worked at a company where, they were on, a higher level than the company we placed them on. And so if you think about it, we didn't pay that person just because they're C-suite. We paid them for their experience. They're able to understand, okay, this company's at this stage. We've already done this. I've seen this happen dozens of times. Here's what we need to do over the next 3 to 5 years. And so we paid for that person's knowledge to understand how to get to that next level. It just made so much sense. And if we think about it, every month, instead of maybe having a 10-year timeline to get to that, next level, now maybe 3 or 5. And so every month, we're essentially shaving off that growth timeline, which can be worth millions of dollars in market opportunity, competitive advantage, and also resource efficiency. And like I said, at the end of the day, this person is going to have a 5 to 10x ROI. Even if we hit targets 6 months faster, that is going to result in easily $5 to $8 million in additional revenue opportunity. And the thing is, like, a lot of people think that's a lot of money, but if you look in today's day and age, everyone is doing it. For example, Meta paid Andrew Tullock, I believe that's his name, $1.5 billion on a 6-year term. That's $250 million per year for just one AI role, right? Jensen Huang's, the founder of NVIDIA, his philosophy is simply you can never overpay on talent. He literally personally reviews the top contributors list and will give special stock grants reaching down to the organization to actually reward exceptional work time and time again. It just makes the most amount of sense, right? And so, like I said, it's not usual anymore. Everyone's doing it. The market is changing, and everyone is simply just going to be paid a lot more money for their competitive advantage that they have, right? If we also think about it, the talent acquisition formula is one thing I want to talk about, right? It's a two-part equation, right? Better salary plus a better mission will always equal a successful poach. And so the mission that at the end of the day keeps them up is the mission that they really want to work with you for. It's not about the money at the end of the day. It's the reason why, okay, why should I work with you? I can get paid 5, 10x even more, but why should I work with you? It's about the vision that will keep them up at the end of the day. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that timing can be a factor. Some people, if you try and poach them, you can give them a competitive salary, but if the timing isn't right, it doesn't matter how good the salary is or how good the actual mission is, it just doesn't make sense. You have to make sure the timing is right. So for some of these people, it might take 6 or 12 months to actually get them into your own company, right? If we look at Meta, right, that I think that timeline was around 6 to 12 months to actually convince him to join Meta in the AI department. The fourth part I want to mention here is the opportunity cost of actually cheap talent. So that $1.62 million is an A player. I think that's safe without saying. But a lot of people think, oh, I could get 5 or 10 people for that salary, right? And that's true, but it's a false economy because at the end of the day, hiring 3, B and C players on a 200K annual salary instead of one person, maybe at 600K annual salary, which is an A player, often will get you 30% of the output with 3 times more management overhead. You're dealing with 3 people instead of one person. You have to there's so much more mental bandwidth that actually comes into play. And at the end of the day, every month that you spend with subpar leadership is market share and momentum that you simply will not get back. Doesn't make any sense. It's fucking retarded. I know, I said it. I had to say it. Sorry. And so good enough talent will only execute good enough, right? And that's not fine. And so that good enough will then get you good enough results, and good enough does not win market cap, market share, revenue, all these different things. And at the end of the day, that doesn't increase shareholder value. And so if you think about it, like an average talent will often create systems that can work at scale. But what if you try and 10x it, 100x it? These B and C players will always just try and do good enough, and good enough systems simply will not work if you try and 10x it or even 100x it. And so the competitive moat effect, one last thing I want to talk about here, is that at the end of the day, when you secure a talent, you're not just improving your team, you're preventing your competitors from actually having them. It's like Pokemon cards, for example. You gotta have them all, you gotta catch them all, right? And so at the end of the day, like these A players and this competitive advantage will also help you in the long run because these A players have a network of A players. Their Rolodex becomes your strategic advantage, and their Rolodex often becomes, new people you can hire. So it makes the most amount of sense. And you also have a lot of credibility when you hire really good talent. Having recognized talent on your team, like I just mentioned in the last part, makes it easier for you to recruit new people because A players only want to work with A players. Pixar had this happen, and they only want to work with A players. When you have a small group of really good people in your team, they don't want to work with anyone else that is below them on a different level, right? Makes a lot of sense. These A players, at the end of the day, will compress your decision-making cycle and your execution timelines, which will give you a faster first mover advantage, right? If we look about it and we think about it, there's something I want to talk about with A players in, real life situations. SpaceX, for example, they had to build like a factory of like GPUs or something like this. This was like in the past like 6 months or 12 months or something, right? Definitely within a 1 year time frame. And everyone thought, oh, it's going to take 3 years to actually develop this. Elon said, fuck this. I'm not waiting 3 years. We're going to do this in 72 hours. He had all of his A players come together, all of their engineers, everyone that would be able to actually develop this factory, and they got it done within 72 hours. That is the actual power of having A players on your team. And so last part I just want to mention is that world-class operators can often pivot strategies, enter new markets, and actually navigate disruptions that would break lesser teams. I'm talking B and C player teams. Right. And so the bottom line is that you really can't overpay for the best. Right. The real risk isn't paying too much, it's paying too little and actually getting mediocre results, right? While your competitors secure all the A players for themselves. In a world where speed wins and actually market windows are closing fast, the $1.6 million hire is not expensive at all. It's the most effective and cost effective growth accelerator you can buy. And so for those of you that are doing between a few hundred K and a few $1 million in annual revenue, you can check out the second link in my description. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what videos you want to see. And I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.